Business news from the Capital Region. This is Washington Business Report with ABC7 national correspondent Rebecca Cooper.
Welcome to a fresh look at business and finance in the Washington region. Coming up on today's show, Twitter co-founder Biz Stone, what he's learned and where he's headed. Plus, Switch Pitch, the role reversal event where established companies pitch projects to startups. And how to on PR and advertising, what kind of money and focus your business should be budgeting for each. But first, a look at the week in review. It was a tough week on Wall Street. By Thursday's 266-point drop, the New York Stock Exchange seemed determined to will away this week's woes, bringing in big guns to close the day, both coaches from University of Connecticut's dual national championship basketball teams. But even big-time bell ringers weren't enough to wipe away investor worries. Ukraine is one big reason, with militants increasingly visible. And the head of the World Bank warning Russia's advance into Ukraine will cause the Russian economy to severely contract.
So this is a very serious issue for Russia, a very serious issue for its growth prospects. And so we simply urge all of the parties to continue with negotiations and find peaceful means of moving forward.
But the biggest concern this week seemed to be after so many months of growth, stocks are overvalued, especially in the tech sector. One of the big losers this week, Twitter. Many analysts believe the little bird has flown too high and gave the stock a sell rating. But by Thursday, Cantor Fitzgerald was upgrading Twitter to a hold, pointing to several factors indicating Twitter doubters may be premature. So far, the company's posted a positive first quarter, is about to launch a new ad format, and is seeing big growth over last year, up 24% to 68 million users worldwide. So when you have a co-founder named Biz Stone, you might think it's destiny to end up with a rock-solid business venture. Well, in his new book, Things a Little Bird Told Me, Twitter co-founder Biz Stone recounts a life that seemed headed for anything but building one of the world's most successful business ventures. When he sat down with me recently in Washington, we talked about how his non-Wall Street approach has actually served him well, both in launching Twitter and now in his new venture, Jelly. Biz Stone, welcome to Washington Business Report. Your book is out. It's a great read. And in your words, you say, my success is based on a mountain of failures.
Right.
So what are you trying to impart to other people?
No, I guess the overall message of the book is really, we're headed into a new era where failure is valued, vulnerability is valued, humanity is valued, and it's, like I always said, I like to describe myself as an internet guy that believes in the triumph of humanity with a little help from technology. So it's not all about technology.
And you talk in the book a lot about how much you believe in Twitter. From the beginning, you didn't quite see the full potential, but quickly you realized it had the potential to even start revolutions, keep revolutions going.
Well, maybe not that specific, but I mean, at first we thought it was fun, and that was great. And very quickly, I saw it as important, and then that became, then it became a mission. And then once it becomes a mission, you're really driven.
So you and Jack Dorsey teamed up. You had this idea. You all end up working on it, and Twitter launches, and it's growing, but it's growing with fits and starts. And there were many growing pains. So you have to wonder, could that happen today, or are they expecting too much?
First of all, the startup landscape has completely changed, even since starting Twitter. Startups now can use cloud-based computing. There are young CTOs now who haven't even ever looked at a server. It is a different landscape for young entrepreneurs. But I do think that there's a lot of value in vulnerability, and there's value in humanizing your company. So I do think that you can still succeed despite failure, as long as you frame it up right, and as long as you tell people, we're people, we're humans, we're working on this, and we're trying our best.
So once you started realizing the power of Twitter, and you thought it was initially something where friends would use it to keep informed of each other's lives, you became surprised that celebrities and politicians were using Twitter as a way to cut out the middleman and talk directly to people.
It's funny that, I actually thought that celebrities would never use Twitter. That politicians would never use Twitter because their lives were, special. You only had access to them you know, in movies and stuff like this. So I thought that was the whole point of being a celebrity. In fact, I was totally wrong. They wanted to connect with with their fans, and specifically when it comes to politicians, and now it makes perfect sense to me. They're representatives of the people. Of course they should be connecting with the people, you know?
So they have to read the book to get the whole Twitter experience, but now you're off on a whole new adventure, Jelly, and I want to ask you a question about that, but first tell people who don't yet know what Jelly does, what it is.
Well, my co-founder Ben Finkel and I, we realized that in the last 15 years, no one has completely reimagined the way we ask queries and get answers. And now, like I say, it's a completely different media landscape. We're all mobile, we're all social, we're all connected. And so the way we reimagine it is, wait a minute, we're all connected. If you have a question, there is someone, a real person, connected to you through social networks and through mobile phones that has a great answer for you with real human experience. And we can use photos, and we can use maps, and we can use people in your social networks to get you those kind of answers that computers just can't retrieve for you.
So I have to say, reading and getting to know you through this book, and you are so self-deprecating and honest through the book about your failures as well as your successes, one thing that really occurred to me is you seem to have a lot of qualities that are more often ascribed to women than to men. You like being nice. You made a conscious effort to even learn as a young person how to be more nice, how to be empathetic. You love communicating. You like having staff meetings and having newsletters and letting people know what's going on. You don't like when the nice guy and the hardworking guy and the good guy gets fired. And Jelly, to me, is kind of that ultimate women asking for directions rather than the guy behind the wheel who refuses to ask.
Right.
So,
well, I grew up in a household of women. You know, I was raised by my mom and with my 3 sisters, and you know, I never leave a toilet seat up. I've never done that. You know, that's funny that you say that. I've often thought that sometimes too. I just I have an empathetic view of the universe and a very aspirational view of the world.
can that work in corporate America?
Of course. I mean, that's the future. I mean, I think that young people, especially young consumers, they're attracted to a more meaningful, more just companies and causes and these sorts of things. And this is the future. I mean, I have a personal philosophy that the future of marketing is philanthropy.
Biz Stone, thanks so much. Well, coming up, an entrepreneur who has flipped the way pitches are made in the startup world with amazing results. Stay tuned.